with this.
All of 1 HP by the way, the inf is complete now.
Go.
Nice, that's your hook.
I don't know, he has no.
Nice, you're gonna pick all of
Rakan.
Okay.
Oh, you take.
Nice, good.
Go.
Good dive. Adam pops the Ragnarok, runs onto Juhan through the Magnet Storm. Almost takes Juhan out, needs another axe, and finds it 1-for-1 in a 1v3.
Guys.
Watch it! Oh my god!
No cleanse this guy?
Okay, and meet.
And welcome back to the LEC as GX tie the series up 1-1, one game away from top 4. Not a position I would expect them to be in, but they just keep getting better. They played Nidalee. I thought it was, I thought that champion was a curse, and it keeps working. Guys, what happened between this mid jungle this game?
Yeah, what is going on with the back against the wall Nidalee pick at the end of the series? But anyway, in the mid jungle, I think it was relatively quiet in the early game, but once you came to team fights, I think the biggest thing to me was the fact that before every fight, it felt like Jackie's was just absolutely 1v9ing, chunking Adam to very low HP, and that made it so they just couldn't navigate the team fights as well as they want to.
And then Nidalee was just gaining so much pressure and control, even now in this clip. I mean, now he's just baiting the Olaf because with flash and everything. But before every single objective, the Nidalee was there, healing everyone up. It allowed their team to just play a lot more aggressive, lay down traps, lay down poke with the spear, and it was a sleeper OP pick because usually you don't see Nidalee's having a lot of impact, but the value of this champion just always comes from these kind of unseen things.
I do think the big thing that, BDS was going for here was Olaf blind pick, thinking that the Nidalee wouldn't be picked because there'd be more than likely a tank for Juhan, and that way there'd be very little DPS, and that's why I think Drain tanks are very good into GIANTX. But now the Nidalee pick shows that they can draft more than just 2 damage threats. I think that's really, really big, and now these gods, these Drain tanks, aren't going to work as well for Adam.
I think the other big thing is that the execution from GX is just, over the course of the series, felt better, right? Like this is the second game in a row where it feels like, yes, BDS managed to turn it around, they managed to weather the storm, but weren't able to build a lead early game like we expected it to. And in this game where you expect Adam to really be able to be this big threat, the Nidalee does kind of shut that down, but also the coordination wasn't there either. So as great as these guys have been, this mid-jungle duo from GX, BDS also kind of crumbling in a way that I did not expect coming into this series.
Exactly, it's a team-wide effort where everyone on GIANTX is stepping up because playing into that sort of team comp that BDS had is not really easy. You have Ashe, you have Lucian, and an enemy has Olaf, Rakan. It's really, really easy to get caught out of position, but they did such a good job to kind of bait out that engage, disengage, and then follow up by their own Ornn engage, because Ornn really didn't have a good easy time in this game, but he did manage to find a lot of really good angles to pull the trigger.
And I want to highlight one player who we haven't talked about yet, and that was Patrik. I think towards the end at the very least, I think that in general this game he had a really hard time. He didn't have that much peel versus the Olaf. It was kind of impossible as an mobile AD carry, but then towards the end, the Ashe arrows, he kept landing them, getting multi-man Ashe arrows in the second to last fight and then the last one as well before the Nexus fell.
Yeah, and overall, like, look, I'm just impressed across the board. The fact that normally when Adam pulls out Olaf, you're like,
spooky.
It's spooky. And when it's against an Ornn, you're like, all right, guys, well, I guess it's going to be a quick 2-0. Let's wrap this up. But it's really a credit to the Antonio and to GX as a whole that when it comes down to, and especially you can see this in the last fight, and of course at this point they have a pretty significant lead. But when you look at the coordination present here, they're just all very much on the same page. And while, yes, they're still taking some risks around Baron. I feel like the Baron pit might belong to them, but they're still taking some risks. Ultimately, the coordination's just better. The instant pullback across the team, you can see that Adam just really cannot do anything with the pick that, on paper, when we first looked at this draft, should have been much more impactful.
Yeah, I do think that kept happening a lot, where the engage would come down and then Adam would have to try and save the play, have to force him to go in, because on Olaf, you don't really have a choice. You have to go in, otherwise you die and you just run away the ulti, and that expires really quickly. So I think what GIANTX did really well was kiting out Adam consistently and then focusing him down.
And they also found fights in unorthodox positions because BDS didn't really choose the best fights that they could have on the neutral objectives. They always found fights in open space where the Olaf was faced with the choice. They're engaging on Olaf. Olaf, can you turn and engage, do your own counter engage or not? It was just poor fight selection from BDS in the areas that they wanted to contest because GX were baiting them in and doing a great job with that.
Right now, if we had, again, coming into playoffs, if you had told me in this matchup, going into the game 3, that GX was the clear favorite, and in my eyes, this looked like the better team, arguably in both games, I would have laughed at you. But that feels like the situation we're in. Our GX just the obvious favorites at this point in the series.
I think the interesting thing, especially when it comes to GX improvement, like you're highlighting, is the fact that they've been branching out and everyone's been like, nah, they can't really do it. They can't branch out. It's kind of fake. They're showing us Diana, Nami Lucian, and we're just like, nah, that's not. Go back to tanks, Juhan. But now he's showing us that performance. I feel like maybe, are they adaptable? Is that the talking point here?
They are adaptable, and for me, going into this game 3, they are clear favorites because BDS is dropping the ball on objective setups. Their early lane phase is not really so strong anymore. Adam is not having the impact that we expected him to have against the Antonio. And right now, there's just too many gaps in BDS's game plan where I feel like GX just slots in very, very well against that.
So if you're looking on the side of BDS, right, we'll put them as the underdogs, at least in the context of this game 3, even if we wouldn't have done that at the start of the day. What needs to change? How do you adjust your draft? How do you adjust your strategy? Is it about execution in game? Is it about the champions you're picking? What has to change for BDS if they're going to win this game?
I think that's really difficult, isn't it? Go ahead.
I think the biggest band-aid they can do is just empower top lane a little bit more because right now they're going for this approach where they want to play 2v2 mid, 3v3 mid with the Maokai as here this game. Nuke is having a great time, you know, with his control mages. I don't think he's getting exposed at all. He's always been this rock-steady player where he can do everything and weather the storm. But right now, I would have liked to see more empowerment on top lane because Adam is still doing good.
So let's talk, what do you mean by that empowerment? I want to follow up there because normally when I see one guy gets Ornn and the other guy gets Olaf, top lane to me seems pretty empowered, Odo. So do you want more ganks? Do you want more intention? Do you want them to be diving the Antonio 24/7? What do you mean when you say you want them to empower topside?
I would like to have a draft on jungle as well where he can invade a lot more because it really felt like this game he was just getting out-tempoed massively by the Nidalee, and with the fact that you have such a strong top laner consistently over the series, I think you can do a lot more. So I would like to just have a little bit more of a high-impact early game jungler from BDS where they can invade, just spot the enemy jungle, so this way you're unlocking the whole map, because right now I don't think you're getting a lot of control because you never see the Nidalee.
And I'm about to cut you off there. Sorry, Eragon. We are ready for the next game. We're going to send it over to Caster, see what the Game 3 draft holds for us. The final game in this series, one of these teams going home.
Let's find out. One of the teams going home from the summer playoffs, as Drakos so aptly mentioned. Important to remember, BDS are into our season finals. GIANTX can be into our season finals depending on results later today or next week. We'll see. You know, winning here helps them, but doesn't actually really change a huge amount if SK win later.
The moral of the story is almost always winning good, losing not so good.
True. If only we could teach Europe that at Worlds.
We're getting ready for Game 3. So let's jump into the draft and see what we've got prepared for us today. I mean, quite frankly, I find that we're in a similar situation to the Mad Lions series with BDS, where in some ways I feel like GIANTX is playing better. Not in every way, but in some ways. And BDS are either finding ways to punish the mistakes, or they are just getting punished for their own mistakes. And they are making a lot more mistakes than we typically see from them. Let's see how they adapt here in Game 3. Ornn and Kai'Sa are going to be taken away once again by BDS from GIANTX. The Renekton going to be banned away from Adam.
Yeah, I'm curious what they're trying to set up there for the Antonio with the Renekton ban, because you obviously with the Ornn already gone, it feels like they're going to high prioritize him in these early stages, and they're already trying to get rid of counter picks in that regard. But it is going to leave a ton again of these big picks open. Brand was banned in the last game, but we haven't really seen that high priority on these AP junglers. It's kind of been more teetering towards those tanks. So does Tristana get banned here? Does the Sejuani get banned here? Is that going to be the high priority pick coming in on this next rotation?
As long as it's not Viego jungle again, I think we'll be happy. The Rail band away, next one, as you say, Tristana and Sejuani, those two big ones. Zyra band away, so Brand, Tristana, Sejuani, the big three, and there's Trist locked in immediately by Team BDS.
So will the Sejuani answer come through from GIANTX? Will they instead prioritize the Lucian? Ezreal, of course, shown to be a powerful pick in this series, but I think the Ashe has won every game, right? Ashe won the game 1, and then Ashe also won game 2.
Yep.
And so maybe Ashe should be the priority for Patrik.
It's possible. There's the Sejuani locked in. Obviously, you can leave your mid laner for 3 here. There's the Ashe Freyord duo teaming up once again. So Braum Brand, I wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
If you want some of that tankiness on the front line.
I'm convinced they won't play Brand, mate. I'm convinced.
I'd look. Let me live in blissful ignorance, Vedius, because the world is dark and full of terrors.
And we need Brand to light the way. I know we're going to get it. I do think we can probably go for either the Taliyah, which is probably the more BDS version.
Oh, come on. No, come on, don't do that. Sheo, you absolute
But
cad.
look, at least it still fits that AP role and definitely gives you something that Sheo has looked good on. And when you're looking at a lot of what GIANTX is, it's trying to coordinate how you're going to like keep an immobile AD carry away or whatever that might look like. I think the Taliyah does work out well in that regard, being able to use that wall.
Zeri now can be locked in for BDS, another one of Ice's comfort picks. I did wonder where this pick had gone this series. We'll see how effective Ice can be on the champion, but already you've got great scaling on the side of BDS. GIANTX, they want to lock in their support here, or do they want to be able to match mid lane? Lucian is a possibility. Jackie's already had a great game 2 on the champion, but he's going to go with the Yone. Okay. All right, so pairing up nicely with the Sejuani. Often used as an answer into the Corki. Tristana, I think he struggles a little bit more, but still a great side lane threat. His ability to scale, his potential teamfight impact is great, but already GIANTX spelling or suggesting that they're looking to play through mid in the early game. Let's see if we can get IgNar now on a roaming support that can have impact and try and make plays happen in the mid lane.
And we saw Jackie's play this at the start of the year, and while he mechanically looked decent on it, the GIANTX being able to coordinate to set him up for success wasn't quite there. So I think that's where I really want to see, as you say, the roaming support for IgNar to try and play towards him, get Jackie's up and rolling, but being able to coordinate team fights to set him up is really going to be the crux of this. And at least you do have an Ashe arrow and stuff that kind of enable fights very quickly and try and get those fights for the Yone, but it's just about coordination, communication that hasn't quite been there for GIANTX for a good chunk of this series.
There's the Analyst banned away by GIANTX. Cannon removed by BDS, trying to get rid of some of that AP threat from the top side. It's a composition lacking in magic damage a little bit so far from GIANTX, although that isn't as much of a problem as it used to be in League.
I still think you have many options here for the Antonio. The Gragas can still come through if you really want to. Sure. But even things like the Zac, I think could actually be pretty good for the Antonio in this situation, because you've already got so many long-range enablers with Sejuani, Ashe, and then the Zac to try and follow up. Will leave that to the 5th rotation, though, just because you can say, hey, look, we'll see exactly what Adam wants to go for, and then we can try and counter it.
So right now they're contemplating the Rakan, and they're going to lock it in. All right. I thought they'd think about that a little bit more. Surprised to see Leona fall to the wayside in this series, but Rakan going to be the engaging choice. A little bit more mobility. Perhaps they want a little bit more of the quickness to keep up with the mobility that exists on the side of BDS. It's the Maokai response now coming out from Sheo. Wait, that doesn't make any sense.
It could be support. We see it a little bit.
Yeah, Mao
over
support
the
into Rakan is okay as well, because you can knock him out of the grand entrance with your Q, and you can chase him with Twisted Advance, right?
Yeah, so that's going to be the game plan, and
Fair enough.
Try and lock him up in place. Now, there is also the counter side, which is if you ever try and engage as Maokai into the Rakan, he ends up W in the opposite direction, and suddenly you're very far underneath the enemy tower. So I think you have to be kind of careful. It's kind of like a stalemate in that bottom lane where neither can engage, but you still have that big Maokai ult then for the later portion of the game.
So how do GIANTX round things out? Is Malphite good here? Poppy is...
I think Zac is actually... Okay, not going to get it. But I thought Zac could go through here, because we kind of saw Zac come out as the initial one into K'Sante, because like, I can tank, I can heal, and then I just have bigger threat into the backline as the game goes on. But Poppy, when you've got so many dashes here, it does make sense.
Also a matchup we saw at MSI, like Oscar played it.
It's definitely a good matchup, I think, for the Poppy, especially if you're a good Poppy player, 100%. And yeah, just the 280 carries both have a dash, so it's helpful, right? I see the logic. Your engage is also fine when you have Sejuani Rakan. You have the Ashe arrow as well to potentially start fights, which, to credit to Patrik, he found some great initiations in the last fight, really setting up for IgNar to follow up with the Rel. Overall, I think that GIANTX continue to stick to their style. Game 2 is definitely a departure from their style, but this seems to be a return to it, with a very solid front line, reliable engage, and their carries mainly being that of Patrik and Jackie's. Meanwhile, for BDS, they are showcasing some of the adaptations that they've made this split. The AP jungler for Sheo, along with Nuke on the Tristana, was a combo that they often relied on during the regular season. And with Ice being moved back onto his Zeri, it feels like BDS have defaulted a little bit more to comfort. The question is, will this be enough team fighting power to win them this game and this series?
That is the question you have to ask. GIANTX trying to make it through to our top 4. So are BDS, in fact, both teams. Remember, they play on Friday against the winner of Carmine Core and SK, which we will have later on today. Carmine Core still battling for that top 3, the only way they make it into the season finals. But we have one game to go before we get to that series. BDS and SK and GIANTX taking to the Rift for the 3rd time today.
So funny. I'm just watching Jackies and Nuke literally discuss the draft in all chat. In any case, let's see how things pan out. You can see the runes on your screen right now. Fleet footwork on the side of the AD carries for BDS.
I do like the exhaust take from Patrik, though. We will see once the runes disappear, especially when you're playing against Zeri. Zeri wants to try and all in and dash it. Oh, actually, he swapped the last second. So I was going to say I did like it because Zeri can play hyper-aggressive in that matchup, but going to opt for the cleanse instead. A little bit more worried about the lockup coming through from Labrov.
I think he's afraid of the Maokai, seems to be the purpose of the cleanse.
It's also like Maokai into Seismic Shove, or like lockup into something else. There's a lot of displacement after the initial lockup that can really put you back, and if you can cleanse the initial bit, then you get away from the follow-up.
Now, you commented earlier, I forget whether it was Dagda or Medic, but...
It's probably Dagda, he says the smart stuff.
The Jackie's Yone at the beginning of the split
It was Dagda.
was something that we all thought was, quite frankly, cool, right? He did a lot of cool stuff. Odoamne described it as we saw a lot of TikTok Yone, where he was just showcasing some great mechanical prowess. But as you rightly said, the team didn't really enable him. I don't think that they played around it. Like KC was a great example of a team that I think played around Vladdy's Yone very well, really setting him up for success, putting a lot of resources made early, getting into a point where he can be this side lane threat. And even though they ended up losing that game, it was still a great demonstration of how to play through the Yone. And I'd love to see the same thing from Juhan and IgNar in this game. I want to see them playing towards the mid lane, trying to put not only this Tristana behind, but setting up the Yone to what will be a difficult laning phase early on and allow him to be a huge carry threat later.
But I do think that they've set up what you were already talking about, Vedi, which is, hey, we've got push in mid for Patrik. He should be totally fine. And then we can start to move IgNar into the mid lane. So start to play around Jackies in that 3-man unit that we've seen from GIANTX from the get-go, right? Like having Juhan involved as well. So Nuke gonna have to be very careful with not making sure he's not overextended to get caught out when multiple members of GIANTX show up.
Sheo spotted on the hawk shot. We know exactly where he is and where he's been. Cleared out his top side, now working his way down towards the bottom side. Both the junglers mirrored in their early clears. Jackie's trying to dash forward. Nuke on the right side of this trade. Jumps in a little early. Can't quite get the 5th auto attack for that explosive charge.
Yeah, I think was expecting Jackies to go back on the solo bound a little bit quicker and would have been able to get that final shot, but Jackies just legged it the other direction to make sure that the bomb exploded before that final shot went off. But still, nice trades for Nuke, and Jackies is going to struggle until he gets that help in the mid lane, just with how strong Tristana is among, which is why I was surprised to not see kind of the higher priority in some of these AD mids earlier in this series.
Keep my eyes on Juhan hovering around the top side of the map. The Antonio able to get this early push in the 1v1, but Adam not really suffering too much. Nice play there from Adam. Sorry, the Antonio trying to deny him farm, and also just getting a nice trade off Jackies though.
Should be okay. Does still have the flash.
A lot of damage though. You're just seeing the matchup at work really. But here is Juhan looking for a dive. Nice spot from Adam, but no jungler in sight. Means it's going to be difficult. Oh, I stand corrected. I guess Antonio's saying, I don't have enough mana to really commit to this dive. I don't think it's worth it. So for now, they're going to go back to base.
I think they're also just unsure as where Sheo is. Knew the top side had been cleared out, but
Sheo's
wasn't
going to
exactly
get
sure.
collapsed on here.
Yeah.
Goes for the seismic shot, but IgNar and Patrik are on their way. Sheo's going to have to flash early. Does so. Juhan's still coming across. They can still chase. Juhan flashes forward. There's the grand entrance. And there goes Sheo, sent back in a body bag.
What's better than 3-man mid? Well, it's 4-man mid. They just brought Patrik along for the journey, managing to pick that first kill up and give it across to Jackies as well. Great stuff from GIANTX to punish Sheo back in on that vision.
Get the red buff as well, so that extra bit of HP regeneration can be very valuable for Jackies. Really nice start. Definitely not like a planned play, but an opportunity that GIANTX was able to find, and one that they will be very grateful for. Sheo both losing his flash and his life mean that GIANTX find themselves off to a good start.
They do use 2 flashes to get it, but in the end that is very much worth. Good ward as well by Jackies around those wolves to spot out the fact that Sheo was waiting there. Now Patrik and IgNar come back down towards this bottom side. Ice, having yet to reset, is about 13 CS up, about 2 waves. But Patrik and IgNar should be able to get the push in here because Labrov is a little late back to the lane.
So we find ourselves in a situation where GIANTX are able to get the push in top, we've got the push in bot as well, and Jackie's, while he is being pushed underneath his tower in mid lane and is definitely behind in terms of farm gold, in a solid position. Has now committed the TP with a few more levels under his belt. His laning phase should get a little easier, but he's still not going to be able to match the pushing power. But Juhan being given a lot of freedom to kind of roam where he wants, and we'll see how he leverages this to play for early objectives, as Adam could be a potential gank.
Yeah, looks like it will be. Knowing that Sheo has no flash means you kind of have the advantage in the 2v2, but not going to be so. It's just going to be Adam having to run away.
He's got the all-out, so a little bit harder to actually lock him down.
I think the big thing is Sheo not having flash now does start to impact the rest of these objectives. As Adam, yeah, he's just going to walk off, but it's very difficult for you to say go for these early Void grubs because Juhan can immediately turn on to you. You've got Jackies who will have his ultimate available. You become the prime target for a lot of these. So I think that's why we're kind of seeing BDS falling back into, hey, we're just going to try and trade on towards the objectives from the bottom side because GIANTX have already set up for that Void grub take.
Grub's being secured now for Juhan. Trying to get this falling on the side of BDS. I see Janky's feeling a lot more confident in his trades in the mid lane. Very close stuff there. Labrov, though, being spotted on a ward. Janky needs to be careful.
I mean, as soon as you get 6 on the Yone, you just have a lot more to play with, right? A lot more playmaking potential, a lot more safety. Go in with the Soul Unbound, and you can always dash back out with the Fate Sealed whenever you desire. Early on, good start here for GIANTX. About 500 gold ahead through the top lane and the mid lane predominantly. Labrov still on a ward as IgNar begins to collapse. Labrov doesn't want to meet the same fate that Sheo met in basically the exact same position. As Juhan goes back in, but a buffer out from Nuke. Labrov having to use his flash to escape the initial engage.
But this picture that we see on our screen right now is what I want to be seeing from GIANTX, right? You've got your jungler here, you've got your support here, primed and ready to make a play. Nuke was getting traded on a little bit. Not only does it alleviate the pressure from Jackie so that he can actually farm and stay relatively healthy in the laning phase, but it also sets up for a potential opportunity to find a gank.
I still think just Sheo not really being able to get involved is going to hurt. We'll have his flashback up very, very soon, but Antonio in a spot here with Juhan.
Glacial Prism blocked by the Pathmaker, and Adam should be able to walk to the safety of his tower.
Big ulti committed though from Juhan. And Adam doing a good job of weathering the storm. Couldn't quite connect the tower there. Sorry, connect into the wall from the Antonio. Again, his trades are very nice. Adam getting very, very low. Juhan still hovering around, but this time Sheo's in a position to stop again.
Yeah, has the wall to try and zone people off if he wants to. Juhan going to spot him here. Immediately going to back away, but I don't think it's the end of the world for Juhan unless he gets caught here.
That's the Weaver's Wall. The Antonio flashes early. Adam chasing forward. Juhan has a flash of his own, but doesn't have the time to use it as Adam takes him out of the picture.
Nicely done by BDS to capitalize on it. Sheo using that wall to cut off Juhan. I was about to say, I don't mind Juhan using that ultimate because there's no real, objectives up and available for them to try and focus on, but the fact he didn't have it meant that he ends up falling down. Good collapse from BDS to punish that.
A lot of time was just spent from Juhan hovering around the top side of the map when arguably it wasn't really necessary. I guess Juhan was in two minds around whether he could make a dive work. But Adam with his pots was staying relatively healthy. Sheo was in a position to counter. And then he also had the rest of his team on his way up to assist in that play. Now Juhan, he was very close to flashing over that wall, but he either decided it wasn't worth it. So we're seeing an arrow fly by. In any case, 1-1 now, the kill score. Grubs in about a minute and a half, Dragon in about 2 minutes. We're looking at both these objectives in the near future.
But look how much vision GIANTX have on that top side. It's going to be really difficult for BDS to try and break that because you need to try and put hyper pressure on mid to clear Jackie's away, and then you can start to deal with some of this. But Juhan having his ultimate now back up and available, Jackie's been able to follow. It's going to make it very tough for them to try and contest this river control that currently GIANTX have.
In using the mobility of Rakan just to get extra vision in, going to be cleared out by Labrov, but it's defensive. It's superficial from Labrov, nothing really in the face of GIANTX. Sheo should be able to steal, take away this Scuttle Crab. It was spotted on the ward that has become a zombie ward. So with 40 seconds on the Grubs, Vision control predominantly in favor of GIANTX, but push for BDS in the bot lane. Wonder if we'll see a reset coming out from Ice and Labrov to go towards that top side.
Yeah, I think there is a world, though, where you're able to try and play from this bot side in towards mid. You look, there's a pink ward, the spot's out there. You play, try and catch out Tristana in the mid lane. And then if you're able to push her back, you can start to shift that over then in towards the Rift Herald. So just completing the kind of shift across will be able to push BDS back. And then if you're trying to enter its BDS into River through choke points, well then Jackie's gets great value. He can come over a bunch of different walls. IgNar and Juhan's ultimates get a ton of value, but they end up going for that bot lane play. And I think that's where it's kind of put them back a step, because Juhan hasn't been in a position to get, had to reset, wanted to pick up a Zeke's convergence, and now GIANTX are kind of stepping forward with BDS, where they aren't using choke points to their advantage.
Hits onto Nuke, but he's not the target for the rest of GIANTX. IgNar takes the kill, Labrov goes Timber. A seismic shove out by Sheo will take a chunk out of Juhan's health bar, but not going to be enough to really perturb him.
It's a bit unfortunate for GIANTX that the kill went over to IgNar due to his Ignite, but they can still use the numbers advantage to secure the grubs. It's going to be difficult for BDS to contest this. I noticed the Ice is making his way up, though.
I mean, that's the fourth grub for GIANTX. I think they're just accepting this is all they really need out of it. Juhan can jump out of the back of the pit. They get the Might spawn, and BDS will take the other two to make sure that GIANTX don't get any more of an advantage.
Fair enough, they respect it because of how quickly Labrov came back out onto the map. And but now BDS are in a good position to actually just move towards the Drake. Getting 2 grubs, denying the 6 grub buffs, and securing that objective, setting yourself up potentially for assault. It's a nice play to make. Okay, they've decided that they don't want to go for the objective, they don't want to press their luck. Instead, they're just going to focus on the clear.
Jackie's still going to put on a lot of hurt. You have such a strong combo with GIANTX right now, just between the Ashe arrow into potential pick with Juhan and Jackie. So even taking this vision as BDS, you have to be very, very careful. No one is tanky enough to kind of dissuade that engage. The only thing that's really been playing into the favor of BDS is that the resets from GIANTX haven't been at great timers. So IgNar now back means you can't fight for the 3v3 in mid. Juhan would already reset to pick up Zeke's convergence right before Void Grub. So there's been like these moments where BDS are able to get positioning, and it's kind of a similar story here where now they have river control and can fight GIANTX on these choke points.
IgNar and Juhan teaming up once again. The support jungle synergy, something that has been so important through this series, and once again a slower game for us, as you can tell both these teams are perhaps a little apprehensive, perhaps a little anxious, as it is an elimination series at the end of the day. The season final still quite a way away. Getting through to the next round of summer playoffs more important in this very moment.
For BDS, though, I think people kind of expect them to come in and sweep this.
Yeah.
I mean, GIANTX put on a very strong performance from what had been a great regular season for them, but perhaps it's not been kind to them, and GIANTX taking a step up, and they're taking a step forward as they push out Ice and Labrov out of this bot side.
Oh, interesting. They brought the Antonio down. He still has his TP, so he can just TP back to top, and they've leveraged numbers to just force their way through this objective. Jackie's goes in. Oh, the play to the Ruin King. We're kind of at that point where you can see Jack is feeling very confident. Of course, no first item completed just yet for Nuke. And the TP back to top. So nice play overall from GIANTX. I like the way they executed that. Now 1-to-1 in Dragons. Similar to the previous games, I should say.
Yeah.
Dragons, Soul, not going to be an immediate issue.
Probably will be an issue by the time we get to the end of the game, if we continue on the same trajectory as previous games.
I feel like we're heading on the same trajectory as previous games.
The 40-minute plus games.
Yes. Herald gonna be secured. A difficult objective to contest, and I like the pings coming out from GIANTX. The cross map makes a lot of sense. The Antonio just fishing for information. He shouldn't overstay. Nice interrupt there.
Yeah, you can see the cross map that's happening, right? Like Juhan and IgNar are in this red side jungle. BDS have given up the ghost on anything on the bot side of the map. They are investing 4 players towards top.
But you are only 1 on the bottom side, and you still have the Tristana on the top end, so I don't like the TP. I was going to say you just match the trade, you still have Rift Herald, but Adam now thinks he can clear out the wave. may not be able
And
to go.
he survived. Pathmaker out, gets a good double stun. All out coming out. There's the quickness as well. Adam trying to survive this, but he's just CC'd for days. Adam dies, TP's in. Cost him his life.
And it's mistakes like this that BDS wouldn't make in the regular season. You have the Rift Herald. So instead of playing for this TP to protect the bot side, you just go for the tier 2 instead. Now, they don't have the numbers advantage, so the Antonio is going to be able to try and clear out this wave, although Ice coming back. Antonio might make the exact same mistake that his counterpart did.
Has to flash away. Has that luxury. Adam did not, running the Ghost, of course, in this game, but because BDS have spent more time around this top side, they're going to lose their tier 1 in mid.
I mean, oh yeah, they definitely will. I was going to question whether or not it would actually fall. Jackie's can't afford to spend any more time in bot lane, so he's going to be forced to reset. Ends up being 2 towers traded for 2. That top lane is now a very long lane, which they likely will send Jackie's into. Always got to draw your attention to the top of your screen. Look at those objectives. Think about what these teams are thinking about next. But the Dragons, still very far away. Baron, obviously, still a far away objective. So the next priority is securing, thank you, Medic.
Oh, I missed.
It's
It's
why we don't let you use the telestrator.
It's because there's other buttons there, and I didn't want to press the other. Can I
hit these. Yeah.
cross out of that?
Yeah.
See, now we can do it.
Beautiful.
That's still a pretty poor circle. I'm a little disappointed.
Oh, we got 2 circles.
Oh yeah, here we are. No, we can
arrow.
make the
Look at
Olympic
the arrow.
logo, guys.
The chat
Quick.
is going to start.
Oh no, it's a small one. Nothing's happening in the game, guys.
I remember.
promise you.
Medic, do you remember that one game? I don't remember who it was, but we started just putting circles on the screen.
Yeah.
Oh, and the chat basically just went all praise the circle.
There is a cult of the circle that goes around every now and again.
Oh, it was because the circle kept appearing on the screen
yeah, it kept popping up,
randomly.
yeah.
And so, yeah, we had no control over the circle. It's like a message was being shared.
We can do circles, and I think we can do like...
Oh wait, what are you going to do in the
There you go.
circle?
Oh, praise the circle.
Got a bit darker in terms of cults than I like here. Here we are, as we see a minute and a half before the Mountain Drake comes up, and a little bit of time for both the teams to take a breath before we get into that next fight. A dragon apiece so far. First item starting to be complete across the board. You already mentioned the Blade of the Ruin King Vedi for Jackie's, Leandri's, Kraken, Static. No real surprises in terms of itemization.
They're not going to try and get vision here. Sheo going to spot him. But they got a good amount of damage off. The biggest issue for GIANTX is that until you kind of set up for these objectives, you're not really able to use your composition to your full extent. You want to be able to use these wombo combos, maybe look for picks, but because BDS tend to have pushing waves, the opportunities to find these picks with an Ashe are kind of null and void until BDS have grouped up. So it's kind of hard for GX to push anything from this position.
Well, the dragon is in 30 seconds. Right now, GIANTX are prioritizing this top tower. They realize they're not going to siege it against Adam. And now they're in a bit of an awkward spot if they do want to contest the Drake, because they're going to be late to the play. Of course, Vision already set up loosely from both sides. Ward's going to be replenished from Labrov.
Now, I think what will happen, Vedi, is one team will take this Drake, then the next team will, the other team will take the next Drake, and we'll just keep going back and forth. We might go 3-1, and then the other team takes a couple.
I mean, these teams are definitely playing very safe. You already talked
Evenly
about
matched is what the wording we'll use.
I think safe is also perfectly fine.
Oh, true.
Because, as you said, there's a lot of pressure on both these teams. It's their potentially their last game of the Summer Split. So they don't want to be the one to make the mistake. Yeah, the teams right now eyeing up the Dragon, but it will be GIANTX to start the objective off. Once again, they brought the Antonio here, but this time, Adam is in a position to contest.
Labrov going in, looking for Jackie's. Nature's Grass coming in from the side as well. Glacial Prison eaten by Adam. Ice starting to dash forward. Not able to find too much more damage.
Problem is, Nuke is on this bottom side, not really in a position to follow up, and his tanks have had to go protect each other, so no real frontline for Ice means that his ult is going to fade, and now GIANTX feel comfortable to re-engage.
There's the quickness. Ignite immediately jumps onto Labrov. The Weaver's Wall coming out. Twisted Advance saves Labrov for a second. The GIANTX have already felled the tree.
I think there's a window where Nuke can secure that bot tower, but Jackie's is... Oh, thought Jackie's were going answer. Very scattered situation here for both teams. BDS still want to contest.
Adam on that front line. Pathmaker immediately into the steadfast pistol. Like, what? Like, GIANTX collapsed well, but BDS were just trying to pincer without any claws.
Yeah, I don't understand what's happened to BDS. It just looks like a complete breakdown in communication, like how they want to approach the game, how they want to try and set up for objectives. And GIANTX, like, this is a composition that is perfect for punishing those sort of mistakes. And they've now got 2 picks. They get to protect bot tower, they get Dragon. It's a complete shambles.
I mean, this is the second half of the fight. You've got to remember that Labrov at this point doesn't have his flash anymore, has already used the ultimate, and it's GIANTX just finding a good re-engage. BDS felt that they could still make the fight happen, even though so many tools had been used by Labrov already. And now Adam is finding another angle to fight, but look at Sheo here. I mean, he's already used the wall. There's no tools left in their kit. They've got to disengage at this point. An overstep from Adam costs them another Dragon, costs them more gold and kills. Look at Jackie's now, 2-0-2. Of course, he's not ballooning the individual matchup gold lead, but this Yone is going to become a problem inside lane. He's only going to continue to get stronger and be harder to deal with. And while Nuke can definitely wave clear against the champion, it's very difficult to kill a Yone, especially with how Juhan has been shadowing him for most of this game.
I think it is great, though, to see GIANTX kind of stepping up on how coordinated they are when it comes to these objectives and how they want to take these fights. Because when you look back at like their very first game versus Heretics coming into the split, it was very disjointed. They didn't really know how they wanted to try and approach these early fights, and it showed. But coming into this, it's been clean. Like, every time BDS step up, they know who they want to try and focus down. You've got Jackie's who's playing hyper-aggressive. Now he's got IgNar and Juhan here, and now they're going to catch Labrov.
Labrov gets a good knockback with the Bramble Smash, but the quickness will still lock him in place. Nature's Grass used for a bit of disengage. Patrik has to flash across the wall. Ice with the lightning crash, looking for the damage. Jackie's caught in the midst of them all, but the Soul Unbound will get him to safety. Antonio on the backline now going forward, knocking Adam down to half. Already Labrov has fallen, and BDS once again just don't quite have the damage. GIANTX walk away wounded. The Antonio stepping a little bit too far away from his team, and Nuke's on the chase. The red buff slow, not enough to get any more out. BDS pushing forward at a numbers disadvantage, TPing in now with Adam. You can see how low Antonio and Patrik are. With double AD carry, this tower will melt.
I mean, it was a fight that was initiated by GIANTX, but it's BDS that secured the objectives off the back of it. Nice punish against GIANTX, and even though they did end up losing a member, ultimately, in terms of map control, it is a big win for BDS. Jackie's, he was in an awkward position in that fight. He got chain CC'd, he was forced out very early. You got to recognize that he's a lot of damage, he's a lot of the team's gold. And so if you eliminate him right at the start, then it becomes difficult to follow up. Props to the Antonio and Patrik. Nice play from them, good flashes, good positioning to at the very least get a kill. Now the Baron is being set up for.
No flash for Patrik, IgNar, or Jackie's.
I'm a little worried there.
BDS setting up around the Baron, as you say, but they don't really have mid-prio. The Antonio's keeping Ice at bay. No tower stands for either team in that mid lane, at least tier 1.
You do have to be careful as BDS trying to contest GIANTX in these positions, because you can see the Antonio and Patrik getting mid-control. Ice is now separated, and then the Ashe ult. And that's what I was going to point out, is that it's very difficult to try and get away from that. Good on GIANTX to try and go for the play, but again, you're constantly separating BDS and giving moments for GIANTX to look for these picks.
Baron going to be tickled there. That's GIANTX.
Do you think Baron laughs?
I think he was having a giggle at the damage that was being done by Juhan there. Patrik going to catch this mid-wave. Jackie's continuing to take all of Juhan's jungle. But ultimately he is going to be the funnel. He is a full level ahead of Nuke. He's been doing a great job off on the side lane. But again, we enter this tense state. GIANTX have the kill lead, but it's BDS with the gold lead. You can see that both Ice and Sheo have been doing a good job keeping up their farm, securing those items, but in terms of itemization, it's very similar for both sides. Minute until the Dragon now.
I also know who I'd take in a team fight later on, right? If you're going to pick an AD carry between the two, Zeri over Ashe would be my general choice. And then you have Nuke to back it up. The question really becomes, can Jackie's isolate that backline? Can he assassinate someone before the fight really begins? And can GIANTX's frontline be strong enough? Because they have the tools. They have the CC, they have the ability to stop mobility from BDS.
I think as well, the lack of summoner spells on Patrik and Jackie's is going to help out BDS in this upcoming fight, so there is definitely wiggle room when it comes to how you want to approach this. Even the LDR now completed for Ice is going to be big, and it seems to be big enough that they spot out the GX on the bottom side of the map and they start the Baron.
Bell has been rung, the Baron begun, ding ding, it's time
Ice
to
took
fight.
so much damage there.
Ice is at half HP, and I think the bell has been unrung in a Pavlovian pattern.
I think
BDS is
GIANTX should consider just running straight back towards
Salivating.
the dragon.
Like, ooh, we can go for it.
I mean,
No, Drake up, Vedi. Drake up.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just run back towards it. If anything, send Jackies and solo it. Ice is going to go towards the red buff. He'll get a level up along with the red buff passive to help him regenerate. Actually, he doesn't take the level up. But I like this play. Just have Jackie solo the dragon. You know that he can do it. He's not really going to lose much off the back of it. Put yourself on soul point. BDS, poor decision by starting off the Baron. I wonder if they were trying to bait a TP out, but I'm not sure who would really TP because Jackie's was with the team in mid lane.
Yeah.
I guess GIANTX was setting up for the dragon, so perhaps BDS thought we can catch them off guard when they go for the dragon. We can start the Baron, we can create numbers, turn fight.
Double Mountain Dragon is great for people like Jackie's, though. You can see him trying to play hyper aggressive, but even in the side lane against someone like Nuke, if you've got these two Mountain Dragons, it makes it significantly easier to take that 1v1. So BDS going to slowly start to struggle as this game goes on, and only more and more items starting to come through for the GIANTX solo laner. Jackie's has the ability to carry this game.
I will say that Ice also in a great position, though. Zeri Medic already commented on it earlier. It's still a great late game threat. We saw Ice with a great Ashe arrow in game 1 to kind of secure the final team fight. And Ice is, I mean, we think of throughout the year, a player that's often in the conversation for best performing AD carry of the split. I think he's a player that you can trust to have those high moments. See if he can step up here in this game. Baron on the cards, of course. Waves continue to be caught. But again, as we've kind of seen so far in the series, very objective-focused teams. Credit to GIANTX, though. If you think back, they've had a very difficult year. They made a change coming into summer. And it's worked out. I wasn't expecting it to work out. Like, they find themselves top 6 right now on the precipice of securing top 4. The Antonio, a player that was already criticized before he even joined the league as just being a tank player, and he's come into the league and he has been a tank player.
Yep.
And every single week, the analyst desk says he's a player that you can punish, you can abuse, you know what he's going to play, and you can find ways to exploit that. And GIANTX find ways to make it work. And if they can secure top 4 by having I think the biggest difference is they have an identity now, which is probably something that they struggled to find all year. And the precipice of honestly finding a huge upset. Defeating BDS, considering their performance throughout the year and how they've been in summer, this really should be considered a massive upset in the context of LEC.
Considering how GIANTX have done throughout the year as well. The Baron has been started by GIANTX down to 11,000. Nuke pushing in the side lane. BDS trying to gain control, wrest control out of GIANTX's hands. TP comes in, Nature's Grass, Antonio on the front line, Weaver's Wall coming down as well, and the Antonio has been separated from the team. Jackie's can snap back.
Wait, they can finish
the
this.
Baron at 4,000 now. Sheo has the flash and has the smite and has the opportunity to steal this away if GIANTX continue it. Baron begins to reset, back up above 12k, and both teams back away.
GIANTX are sent out towards the top side, though. You can already see Ice immediately trying to shove in that mid wave. They would like to use this mid wave to potentially look for the mid lane tower, which is why GIANTX have to stay around this Baron. They may need to start up to pull BDS in.
Patrik beginning to put the damage down onto Labrov, who no longer has a flash. Glacial Prison behind, the fate sealed, and the game perhaps sealed as well for GIANTX. Labrov is already down. Alongside him, Sheo will join him in the dirt. GIANTX now have to fight into Nuke and Ice, who are doing everything they can to turn around the 2v5. Jackie's goes in, he's busted back. Ice is low, but now Nuke can hop, skip, and a jump forward. A 2v5 for BDS.
What just happened? It looks like the game had been sealed for GIANTX, but BDS's AD carry step up with the heroic play to bring this back.
We go straight into the replay, and it's Sheo that gets caught off to start the fight. Nice collapse from GIANTX, and you think with the front line disappearing, with the jungler gone, there should be an easy Baron. But Ice and Nuke kite back beautifully. There's no real risk. They're using their range. A good flash in from the Antonio, but a better response from Ice. They're targeting the GIANTX opponents one at a time. They're finding these isolated skirmishes where Nuke then has the health advantage to commit to the fight. Double kill for Ice, triple kill for Nuke. And they absolutely pop off when they very much needed to.
Because if they lose that, even if they just back away after losing 3, that's Baron for GIANTX, a gold lead for them. They start pushing in, taking some of that standing gold off the map, and you can see 15k between them in that singular team fight.
I mean, that's the impressive thing. They just kept hitting,
Yeah.
right? Even though the fight was lost, they didn't stop hitting their opponents, and they gave it their all up until the last second. They make it work. The gold still very much in favor of BDS. A lot of that still sitting on the mid and AD carry of BDS, but of course their top laner, as he often has been this series, with a 1k gold lead. Not that it really matters between the two tanks.
Well, before that fight, Jackie's had the lead in mid.
It's
but
true.
Because Nuke picked up 3 kills, he now has a 500 gold bounty on his head and 1,000 gold his advantage. The Drake up though, GIANTX would secure the Mountain Soul if they can somehow sneak it away, but BDS have sent Ice down there to take their second dragon of the game. We'll look to see if we make it 3-3 once again. Oh, knocked back onto the Antonio with the seismic shove. Jackie's going forward, but look at the Buster. Explosive charge. Takes away his shield. GIANTX will start up the Baron. Jackie's is low, but he can TP back in. The Nature's Grasp, a possibility for Labrov. No summoners really, apart from Sheo, who has his flash.
Oh,
Jackie's
that's huge. His
can't
back is
get away.
interrupted.
Nature's Grasp going in, takes the blast cone. A couple of roots going down, but BDS will now start up the Baron themselves. IgNar looking for that quick let's flank, but doesn't have a flash to really get into the pit. The Keeper's verdict, not guilty, as Antonio just charges up and doesn't unleash the helicopter. Lightning crash, the arrow dodged by Ice alongside the Glacial Prison. He finds a kill. The Baron secured by BDS. And on the flip of a coin, on the flip of a fight, BDS wrests control of this game out of GIANTX's hands.
Small mistakes coming back to hurt GIANTX. Jackie's getting pushed low, then having his reset interrupted. And Ice stepping up massively there. He was like, I need to take this game into my own control. Managing to get the kill and then dodge both of those crucial spells was so important in that engage.
Now BDS firmly in control of the game with this Baron. Nuke going back to base, completing his 4th item. They will begin their siege. It's been a difficult series for both sides. BDS, they forced the ultimate out from Jackie's.
It's huge. No threat really from Jackie's on the backline now. Doesn't have the flash, can unbind his soul, but doesn't really have the option to get in there. Weaver's walled down as Juhan gets on the right side of it, but the tower already down. The inhibitor short to follow for BDS. They'll move their way towards the mid lane. Patrik just coming out of base. Antonio trying to get out of this. Keeper's verdict going down. Sheo has a Banshees, and once again, it's just a helicopter for naught, as Antonio doesn't set off the charge. The second inhibitor of the push has been taken down, and BDS have lined them up like dominoes. Bot into mid, into top, another inhibitor tower their target, and objective bounties coming up for GIANTX.
And is it into top 4? That's the big question as the engage comes through.
Pathmaker in, soul unbound, but Jackie's doesn't even have a chance to snap back as he's snapped out of his body. Sent packing to the fountain as BDS begin to open up. Patrik and IgNar low. The third inhibitor of this push is going to fall. A minute and a half left on the Baron, and all on a knife edge. This entire series could have gone either way, but in the end, it's BDS's day. Juhan trying to tank up on that front line, but Ice still healthy enough to open up the big guns. The second Nexus tower falls, and BDS have a date with the top 4.
Just like that, a snap of the fingers, a single fight was all BDS needed, and it was GIANTX to start off the Baron. They punished them for misexecuting, and while GIANTX was in a position to turn that game in their favor to qualify for the top 4, that will not happen today. BDS, in a sense, miraculously find their way into the top 4. Struggles shown consistently throughout the series, but they did get a big win today.
Yeah, and you can see on your screen vote for your key player of the series at LEC on X. It will be Nuke, Ice, or Labrov. But I gotta agree with you, Vedi. Like, this is kind of 2 series now, the MDK series and this series, where BDS haven't looked spectacular despite being able to squeak out a win. So I think a lot of question marks around this squad.
Now, of course, for GIANTX, they are not eliminated from the season finals, but a lot is determined on our second series of the day.
Yeah, if SK win later on, SK and GIANTX will be our final 2 teams in our season finals, joining MDK, Fnatic, G2, and BDS. If Carmine Core win, with GIANTX losing today, If KC beat BDS next week, then SK and KC go in. If BDS beat KC, then SK and GIANTX go in.
And just to clarify again, SK have secured a spot as a result of BDS's win, right?
Yes, correct. Oh, well, that's it for us for now. We're going to go to a short break, and afterwards, Adam will be standing by with Trouble to give us his insight on that series.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Can't believe we lost to NA.
You'll be fine.
Yeah, we always are.
Yeah.
Psst, Pedro, do you and Law want to go on a legendary adventure with Marriott Bonvoy? Just go ahead and press that button. Over 30 hotel brands, 10,000 global destinations, over 8,000 hotels worldwide. Where can we take you?
Oh, it's Berlin.
Let's go.
Marriott Bonvoy. Unlock exclusive member rates and legendary benefits across over 30 hotel brands worldwide. Sign up today for free and claim your Masterwork chest and key.